Hello everyone, it's Lehari again, founder of Red Star Games. I am here at this point to come tell you all about all of the wonderful things that we've been working on here at Red Star Games over the last year or so on this most auspicious 20th anniversary of Bionicle. First and foremost, last week we just got back from Brick Fair, Virginia 2021 and had an absolute blast. Over the course of the week and the public weekend, we at Red Star Games sold 85 separate pieces of our 3D modeling products, which included 50 masks and 35 prototype miniatures for our tabletop war game, the Baranai Nui. We also spent the entirety of the con making sure that people knew for a fact that Bionicle was still around and that there were people who still wanted to hold the torch for it, which is half the fight in making sure that this community stays strong and lives as long as it possibly can. At Brick Fair, we actually also helped out the Slade Child Charity Foundation by submitting 6 of our masks as a bundle to their charity auction, which raised about $45 for underprivileged children all around the world. Additionally, for our 3D modeling line, I would just like to go over some of the stuff that we put out over the last year. Earlier on in 2021, we released a whole 6 masks inspired by the Rakshi from 2003. We are most of the way through our Vanguard redesign project, and, as I mentioned earlier just a few moments ago, we are formally announcing here that we are developing tabletop miniatures that are inspired by Bionicle sets, so that way you guys can have something to play with as units in the Baranai Nui, and if I might say so myself, they do make also some pretty good player character models for anybody playing the Daranai Nui as well. Which brings me to all of the amazing things that we've done with the Daranai Nui over the last year, and actually in the last 2 months specifically. On July 4th, which is our 4th founding anniversary, we dropped version 0.9 of the Daranai Nui, which is a comprehensive overhaul of a lot of our systems, and is actually going to be the version of the system that you're going to be seeing played here in just a few minutes. Basically, we wanted to go in and address a lot of the issues that our 0.5 era system had kind of baked into it. We looked at all of the Dungeons & Dragons isms that the source of the system just kind of carried forward, because we were more inexperienced game developers back then, and we wanted to sort of break it all out and see what we needed to actually keep to keep the flavor of Bionicle, and see what we could get rid of or improve on just for our own purposes as a game. Currently, the system now is spread across 13 much smaller, separate manuals, which you can use as you need them, rather than requiring a single or maybe 2 of our massive PDFs to actually be able to play the game. Because we were aware that that was one of the larger problems, because, 0.5 had a lot of issues. Most of them were the fact that you could barely read the thing. Additionally, we've also updated it to the point of having 19 different playable species, including Skakti, Vortex, the Prime species, which are the Baraki, which we have 2 people playing as 2 different ones of those in this game. 81 different masks at 4 separate power levels, so we have Noble, Great, and then the Nuva versions of both of those, because, little known fact, Noble Nuva is a thing. 17 different elements, which is all 16 of the ones from canon, plus sand, which is a hint at things to come in the far future, wink wink. And a comprehensive overhaul to all of our modular systems, so that way you can, in essence, mock whatever your player character would want to be geared out with in the Daranai Nui. However, because of the way that we're going to be building the Daranai Nui for the foreseeable future, we're shifting away from 1 release per month like we had throughout 2019 and early 2020, to a more quarterly release schedule, so every season, give or take, is when we'll be adding something new or substantial to the game. However, we are planning on having a bug check every month or so for the foreseeable future as well, so ideally first or second Thursday of every month. But to touch on some things over on the lore side of RSG and some of our other games as well, this is going to be our formal announcement that the first Heroes of the Stars module, which I'm not going to name just yet, but it'll be coming out soon, and the Chronicler's Guide to Metru Nui, the very first setting guide for the Daranai Nui, are going to be able to be coming out sometime next year. And if I could be a little bit more specific about it, you know that I absolutely would be. But I'm not making any promises just yet. For lore side as well, we're also going to be releasing a slightly updated and error-fixed version of the RSG map companion as well here, hopefully before the end of 2021. Although, that isn't the only thing that we're also working on for all of you guys. Because we are also working on setting the groundwork for the very first Baranai Nui tournament on our Discord server, along with Tales of Destiny, which is going to be a major community campaign that myself and all of the other very talented developers and game masters at RSG are going to be running also for our Discord community as well. I'm not going to tell you an awful lot about either of those just yet because, well, I want to preserve some of the mystery and I don't want your minds going too deeply in a different narrative direction before we get into the game this afternoon. But rest assured that we have some excellent things cooking up for y'all. As far as the Baranai Nui tournament is concerned, we're going to hopefully be getting that before the end of this year as well. And Tales of Destiny is a soon TM project. But the tournament for the Baranai Nui is going to help inspire the 1.1 version of the game. And Tales of Destiny is going to be a little bit more ambitious, but there is more to follow on that. So, since there's a very high possibility that I am going to be a little bit late to actually begin this game on this beautiful Bionicle day, because my working hours are a little bit crazy right now, I'm going to take this time to also introduce the player characters that you'll be meeting over the course of the next few hours. The first one up, well, the first two up actually, are going to be Swert and Tino Nui, and you might remember them from the previous game, Dusk of Makosu. Basically, this whole thing takes place some indeterminate amount of time after Dusk of Makosu decides to end, along with the entire prosecution war. Basically, after the war was done, Tino and Swert decided just to sort of kick around the universe, and they forgot or, just stopped using a lot of the skills that they had learned in the war, and as a result, they're a little bit weaker than they used to be. But they are still the same Toa of Big and Toa of, Swert. That they used to be. So, they're the familiar face. Next up, however, we have a couple of new entrants into the arena for my game mastery. Those are going to be Toa Volo, who is a male god Toa who has been plying the waves for a very, very long time. And it's actually a long-time personal player character of its player, Sigma, who is one of the lore masters over at RSG, and they were also playing a Toa in the previous game, Dusk of Makosu. After that, we also have Toa Kelric, who is a Toa of Iron, played by the indemnable Gonal of Myths and Legacy fame. Kelric was very business-oriented and very well put together, so he's going to be probably a significant voice of reason should any of the others involved be a little bit less reasonable. At least that's what I'm expecting. But additional to all of this are those non-Toa player characters that I had mentioned to you earlier. Those are going to be Ilos, who is an Ursare from the Great Lakes, so one of Elex's species, and a little bit of an interesting subtype of one at that. The Ursare of the Great Lake within Zakaz are a little bit less well-armored, but they do have a natural camouflaging ability, while also still retaining the massive protosteel claws that their species is widely known for. And then lastly, we have Skyros, a Menidi spy and former community leader who was exiled from Makosu, the setting of our last one-shot, for stuff we're not going to get into right now. But Menidi are the species of the Baraki Takadox, and as a result have all of those wonderful little extra abilities concerning their hypnosis. And I think you'll find that they're going to be quite useful and quite relevant over the course of Ruva Midnight. So, with those introductions all being done, I would just like to say from the bottom of my heart that this has been the most impressive, the most fulfilling Bionicle Day that I have ever been a part of, and I can only hope that next year tops it even further than this, although it's going to be quite hard-pressed to do so. So, see you here in a few moments, everybody, and play well.